Welcome back to Liberty Bytes on the Think Liberty Network. I'm your host, William-Gadsden. You can follow me personally on Twitter at William_Gadsden, or check out my Facebook page at William-Gadsden Political Commentator. Check out Think Liberty on Facebook, Twitter, or wherever your favorite social media outlet is. Give us a follow and a like for updates on new episodes and more. So today is going to be a bit of a mashup of current events, but all of it has one consistent theme: growth of the federal government coming from both sides of the aisle, and some of the techniques used by both sides to fool or sway the American people. Last week I gave you the analysis of the President's State of the Union address, and as you now know, it was definitely a mixed bag. But even in his speech, there were little things here and there embedded, even using minute things like sandwiching something that his supporters would dislike in between two things that they would like, or listing several things that are positive and ending it with one thing that's negative. This is the sort of thing that has become more and more commonplace in our political environment. So let's go through three main current events that highlight how this sort of wordsmithing helps politicians pursue their authoritarian goals. Now, first up, and this is something that's been in the news for a while now, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's laughably bad Green New Deal. Seriously, this thing is atrocious. When it was first released on her website, I was surprised it wasn't written in crayon. And one facet in particular was an FAQ sheet released on her website and widely distributed by the usual news outlets. In summary, this FAQ listed all of the things that the Green New Deal would accomplish: housing for all, healthcare for all, pay equality, work equality, financial security for those that can't work and aren't willing to work. And that's where they screwed up. The masks slipped, and that is when people started paying a bit more attention to this thing. Now, nobody can argue with the idea of equality, housing, healthcare. All of those are great things for people to have. You'd have to be a real jerk to deny that it's good for people to have these things. But wait a second, you're ensuring financial security for people that are unwilling to work? Then you start looking more closely at this bill in general. We're going to need to get rid of the airlines, switch to electric cars, renovate every building in America to make them more eco-friendly. And why is there so much guarantee of things for people by the government? Why does the word equality keep showing up over and over, and in ways that clearly aren't implying equality of opportunity, but equality of outcome? And that's when it hits you. This isn't a wondrous bill that will ensure the survival of civilization from the looming danger of global cooling or warming or climate change, whatever it is they're calling it these days. This bill is basically a Russian nesting doll of leftist agenda. You take the climate concerns doll apart, and boom, there's a slightly smaller doll that says housing the homeless on it. You take that apart, and there's an even smaller doll that says universal health care. Or to put it more bluntly, this is a bill with multi-personality disorder, and all of the personalities are leftist. So what's the goal here for this bill? Make things eco-friendly? Green energy? Economic equality? Social engineering? Government control? Well, it's all of the above at the same time. But even after the mask slipped, you could see the news outlets that were promoting it frantically looking to put a spin on it. I kept seeing things like, well, this is just a proposal, or it's a glimpse of the future for the U.S., or my favorite, it's not a big deal, it's a non-binding resolution. We pass these all the time for, like national holidays and stuff like that. This is really just saying that Congress would like to accomplish things in the future, and that's it. Okay, but even if that is all this was, it is still laying the foundation for the future that the authoritarian left wants. It's like a wish list of neo-Marxism and collectivist totalitarianism wrapped into some leaves. And down the road, when we've moved just a bit further to the left, they'll remind us of this bill, saying that they now have an obligation or a duty to pursue it, since they promised the American people or some crap like that. Thankfully, everyone immediately started mocking it, and the FAQ was pulled from our website with several excuses as to why it got there in the first place. Hilarious. Now, let's talk about red flag laws. If you aren't familiar with this term, the idea is that anyone, a family member, a friend, whoever, can anonymously tip off law enforcement that you are, as a firearm owner, are a danger to yourself or others. The police then go to a judge, receive a court order, and show up to your door to confiscate your firearms and ammunition for varying periods of time. Now, this isn't something that's being proposed. It's already law in several states and localities throughout the country, and is being proposed in several others. People have already died as a result of those laws being implemented and cops showing up unannounced at people's houses to seize their firearms. So let's break this down. Your Second Amendment right, your right to defend yourself, is being taken from you. Without your right to face your accuser, without your right to a jury of your peers, without your right to a fair trial. So several of your constitutional rights are being stripped from you in one blow, based on a local or state law. So much for the supremacy clause, I suppose. But of course, this is all considered to be common sense or in the name of public safety. This is how individual rights are stripped from a people, slowly into the sound of appeasement and excuses. Lastly, let's talk about the New York law that was passed several weeks ago, in which a baby just about to be born can be legally killed just before it exits the womb. I can't tell you how many people I've seen making a snide argument like, well, clearly you didn't actually read the bill. They can only abort the baby that late in the pregnancy if it affects the health of the mother. Maybe you should do some more research. Here's the thing. I did read the bill, and I did do my research. The problem with it is that while it's worded as protecting the health of the mother, which again, nobody can definitively disagree with on a practical basis, the wording itself allows for almost infinite flexibility in how the, quote, health of the mother is defined. Is there a high chance that the mother may die due to complications during the birth? Get a doctor to sign off verifying it, and you can get the abortion. Your baby will be born with severe birth defects and will add more to a burden to the mother. Get a doctor to sign off verifying it, and you can get an abortion. The mother is just so stressed out right now, and I just can't even. Get a doctor to sign off verifying it, and you can get your abortion. Just make sure he words it as causing emotional health issues. That's what this bill is, a license to kill babies up to the point of birth under the thin guise of protecting the mother. And those sick people cheered when it passed, knowing exactly what was in it and how it was written. We have gone from the left insisting that they want abortions to be safe, legal, and rare, to on-demand, taxpayer-funded, and celebrated. Celebrities get on Twitter to encourage their followers to shout your abortion and spread it far and wide, because what a wonderful thing killing an unborn child is. This is the new modus operandi of authoritarianism. Call it one thing in public, insist that this law or that regulation is in the name of equality or public safety or the health of the mother, but in the wording of the bill itself, write it in such a way that it is barely even hiding what it truly is. A grab for power, control over the individual, the erosion of liberty. Because after all, nobody is actually going to read it anyway, right? As long as they tell us what we're getting, that we're getting what we won't ask questions or point out the failure of the bill to meet its stated goals after it's been put into place. We'll already be enthralled or enraged with the next thing that they put in front of us. We're the frog in the pot, with the heat slowly being turned up. Our own government has its hand on the dial, turning it up a bit at a time. And we're the frog being slowly boiled alive, insisting that everything is fine. Thanks for listening, and I hope you'll join me next week to become more liberty-centered with us. I'm William Gadsden with Think Liberty.